Welcome to Schema App's first Fireside Chat. I am so excited today to be joined by Simon Yohe, who's coming to us live from Florida. And he is the Senior Director of E-commerce and CRM at Holiday Inn Clubs. Welcome, Simon.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I mean, you said fireside chat, but we're in Florida, so we don't really need that fire, but we got the beautiful weather going on.
Well, in Canada, we do need the fire. It's close to freezing here today, and I'm, in absence of actually being able to sit together in the warm sun, so excited to really have a conversation to hear about your journey with structured data and with Schema App, and have you really tell your story.
Okay, awesome. I'd be happy to. And actually, this is my second go around with you guys. So, yes, I am at Holiday Inn Club Vacations. I've been here for about 2 years, but prior to that, I was at what was originally Florida Hospital, but part of the Adventist Health System, and was there for multiple years. And I was brought on to that organization because they were doing a national rebrand. And what they had was through 9 states, they had hospitals scattered throughout, uh, you know, within each state. A lot of them in Florida, a lot to the southeast, but they extended all throughout the country. And they had multiple brands, and they wanted to bring everything in as one. And so we were tasked with doing a overarching rebrand, consolidating about 840 different medical and hospital websites that were all branded differently, all into one adventhealth.com domain and brand. And as we were going through that exercise, it became a concern for us was how do we make sure that when we make this shift and this transition, that people are still able to find us, people are still able to locate the hospitals, the medical pavilions, the imaging, PT, everything like that. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a plan in place and the system in place that would help Google and other search engines be able to easily identify those legacy names and be able to bring them over. And structured data was where we thought was a huge opportunity for us to be able to do so. And we will be honest, did not necessarily know how we were going to do it. And we were also limited in regards to our development team who was actively working on our one platform. And so we were searching online and going through and seeing what options were there. And that's where we came across Schema App and just absolutely fell in love with the ability to have that plug and play, in essence, into our site and not have to work on that development piece. And we were able to get it all set up and implemented. It actually helped us so much more. And I don't know if you're going to ask that further, but it really helped us with our content strategy and how we organized a lot of our content as we built. And actually was really successful in having that transition, which occurred, at the beginning of 2019.
I know this is back in 2018. Simon, I want to just like pull out though, because what the rebranding and consolidation was one piece, but the actual like where the structured data played in here was connecting the entities and knowledge, right? So I often like talking about like the connectedness is sort of that key part. This was such a great example of where it was like a before and after of like identifying those entities, identifying sort of how we're going to explain to Google that these things are the same thing and that they're all connected.
Right. And it wasn't even it wasn't just simply like a rebrand from like the term Florida Hospital to Advent Health. We were physically renaming and restructuring the hospital names, the locations, so they were more aligned with the geographical area. So it wasn't even just simply a rebrand, it's more like a complete name change and name shift for many, many businesses, and then connecting and mapping those all together.
Amazing. When you were going through that change, because is a while back, you were also like re-architecting some of your content, and you talked about sort of like the impact to the content kind of teams. Can you elaborate a little bit more about sort of how structured data influenced that was surprising to you?
Yeah, I mean, it actually, from a standpoint, one is it made us really go, oh man, we got a lot of data mapping we need to do and a lot of tagging that we need to rethink. Because obviously you want to, when you're going through and you might be doing a metadata or a tagging structure for your content, setting it up, but not only setting it up from how it might best suit your needs to manage the content on your website, but having that mindset and that thought about how, if done right it could be to your advantage from a search perspective and how Google needs to categorize and understand your content. And it really, for us, two areas that at the Advent Health that it really impacted us was our actual physical facility pages, because then it really gave us an understanding of a lot more content information that we needed to structurally organize and display on our site, and our physician profile. So one of the things that it had, and you guys were fantastic in sharing all the different schema libraries, but the ability to connect the physicians with their services, the physicians with their locations, the locations to the services. It really started to help us get a better understanding and guide us in the ideal structure of how we wanted to build all those pages.
Aha, that, like structure day is for SEO to stand out, right? It's for understanding, but actually, if you like, actually can architect it in how you write content and how you create pages, they sort of like are winning from the get go, right? Like it's sort of
Yeah.
that sort of like, man, we're gonna get those results right at the beginning. Now, you're a Holiday Inn Clubs now, so talk to me
Yes.
about, like your thoughts because, again, different website, different technology, different business goals.
Right.
Why did you sort of think, okay, I got to do structured data and walk us through sort of like when, why did you pull us into to that engagement too?
So we had a lot of success at Advent Health, and was brought over to Holiday and Club Vacation because they were undergoing a digital transformation. So did not fully leverage their web properties. We did not leverage our web properties at that time. Was mostly, I'd call it like a brochure website. So it was very visually great. It had a lot of great imagery and information on there. There wasn't much transactional because we're part of IHG, Intercontinental Hotel Group. And so we relied a lot on their website and their tools to help us in regards to rental bookings, vacation offerings, but we wanted to bring that in house. And so with that, we really wanted to build out and grow our digital platform in a way that we could become self-sufficient on ourselves. And was brought in. One of the things was to start building those self-service pieces. And as we go through it, we didn't want to just simply invest in building functionality that would allow us to do online reservations and build a new member portal and other transactions simply alone. We also wanted it to see, as we're building this, are there ways that we can overall enhance and improve how our site is found? And are there elements and pieces within there that can allow us to improve and even complement and supplement what we do with our IHG relationship? At the same time, too, we're very eager and very excited to see, are there ways that in a very competitive industry within vacation ownership, and we're competing against the likes of Disney and Marriott, are there opportunities within there where we can take advantage of areas where maybe they're not as strong? And even when we were at Advent Health, that was an area too we saw within the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry really wasn't fully leveraging a lot of the abilities within SEO, and we see the same thing within this industry as well. So that was a very huge piece and a motivation to go forward with that. And we had such great results when I was with you at Advent Health. Wanted to extend and bring that on. And to be honest, it's not just simply, I didn't just bring Schema App on. I brought Martha and her team on as well because there's a lot of advantages of being able to have that insight and that thought knowledge about really focusing on how you build your content and focus on
Is a
SEO.
competitive differentiator. So when you hire Simon, you also get that competitive differentiator, innovative brain, right? So and with that comes, Schema App
Yeah,
and sort of those different pieces. And I also am hearing that it's like it's the bigger strategy piece, right? So don't just think of this as a tactic within SEO, but that like if you think more broadly, and some of my favorite conversations with you, Simon, are where we're like, how does this kind of fit in with personalization, right? Like, how do we think about the next reuse,
yeah.
right?
That's the beauty of it, because yes, you can, in one sense, say it's a tactic, right? You could say, yes, we're adding structure data. That's one of our many, many tactics that we are trying to do as part of our SEO strategy. That's true. But if you think about it and you think about where things are heading and how whether it's live chat or it's trying to create dynamic content and personalization, like you've got to at some point take that leap where you start to tag and you start to organize and you start to aggregate your content and mark it up in a way that you can leverage it for multiple functions. And so, this is, a lot of times this can be the catalyst to get that going.
Amazing. Why Schema App? Why like pick a software solution versus sort of doing it in-house?
Hopefully there's no developers on this call, so I don't want to upset them. What I love is yeah, and it's true. Like, yes, developers can build this, and a lot of companies do that. But the issue and where, it's been a struggle for us is that you only have a finite amount of developers. And when you're working on different features and functionality, it becomes harder sometimes to make sure that you have those dedicated resources that can be a focal point on structured data, not because of the value, but it's very difficult sometimes from a business perspective or from trying to discuss this with others to try to talk about building that self-service functionality that we need, and then actually implementing that schema code. And then the other thing on top of it is it's one thing to put it out there, but you actually have to have someone that's knowledgeable and understanding of why and the direction of what you're trying to mark up. And then you also have to have someone that can then maintain it, monitor it, and track it and optimize it. And a lot of times too, you can get a development group or a developer that can build something. It's really hard to get back on their schedule to come back and get them to do optimization, especially on a reoccurring basis. And they're not going to necessarily be fully knowledgeable of it. So, I think it's the Schema app tool is for the value you get and the lift that it can do. It's like a no brainer.
We love it because it enables you to actually like just get stuff done, right? Like you have these brilliant strategies, like we get it done.
Well, and let's face it too, right? For all the good that schema markup can do, if you don't do it just right, it can actually do you harm. And I think that's one of those things where that is an additional value as well. Is that it's one of you're getting it done. It's being done the correct way. It's being monitored when something may or may not change or shift within Google, because that changes all the time. Do you have people there that can
But like
quickly
the
adapt,
benefits,
learn, and
right?
make
How
ones?
do you measure
And
like
that's what's awesome about
the
Schema App.
return on investment from structured data and sort of your engagement with Schema App?
Okay, so well, we do get quarterly reports and we get feed out from you guys. We use a couple different SEO tools. We use Google Search Console. We can there are definitely certain things that may be hard to gauge, but you can infer. There are obviously things that 100% you can see. So adding structured data and setting up the schema markup for FAQs for rich snippets. That is a clear night and day where you can see where you went from 0 and now you have 200,000 impressions a month going on with FAQs. So those are those items. You can see things as well where you can see we've seen a significant lift in our organic traffic, our clicks, and our impressions. And while I can't necessarily factor that 100% into schema, it's a combination of multiple things. We are seeing that fantastic lift in our organic. We're seeing that in our impressions and just the number of keywords and elements that were being
Do
found.
Schema performance analytics will show it sort of in a holistic way as well as sort of new opportunities, because I think the important part is that there's a visual change,
Yeah.
right? So when I try to explain to my family what we do or and so forth, it's like, oh, this is the visual change. You can also use that with your executives, and then but also there's the data, right? Like there's the hard data that goes with it.
Yeah. And granted, we've been working with you guys on our site for over a year. And our site was relatively new. So it was a brand new site. It was very cosmetic. There wasn't much focus on there. But when we look at a time frame, and I think if we look at back of our April to June, it's like our quarter two in 2020, and then you look at quarter two of this year, it was night and day. I mean, I think it was over 1,200% increase in clicks. The impressions were like 600% greater or like that. Just the numbers across the board. And granted, yes, it's not just one piece that did it, but it's a combination of things. And again, Schema App, you guys provide the tool and the allow us the templates to use to mark up that schema markup, but you also are there as a guidance, as a standing point to help us educate us on things and items we should be focusing on, because we have been taking that education and that learning to apply it to our content team, to apply it to our strategy marketing team. So we've been focusing a lot
Question
on
from our
embracing
audience.
different
They're
areas of
asking
content
like, that's great. Like
based
I
off a
have to
lot of
convince those
the
developers and
recommendations and
those
guidance that you
leaders
have.
like to invest in this type of thing. Any recommendations or sort of guidance on that?
So one thing that I've used at both places is that I've been challenged to help drive us to be innovators within the industry. And this is an area where in both times our main competitors really weren't doing much within that audience. And, you know, sharing that opportunity where to executives, hey, we're going to be doing this and this is going to put us as a thought leader within our industry against your peers in regards to this one thing. They love hearing that. So you can tell them all the great stories about where you're going to see lift. A lot of times too, simply, it's just a matter of educating them what structured data is. They have no clue. But the moment you actually start walking through people and you can pull up your smartphone and you can show the imagery, you can see some of the site links, you can see some of the things that pop up. Go on a desktop. I mean, we don't really go on desktop that much, but man, if you pull up a desktop and you get the Google side with it is just loaded with structured data and all that information, and you can show them we can have all this stuff, we can have all this real estate on Google. Do you want that? And do we want to get it before our competitors get it? That's been huge for them. So I think those have been areas. And then on top of it, it's really the value, the speed, and the ability to manage and control this is so much more efficient and effective than trying to do it internally, to
I
take
grew
it
up at
on and do
Cisco
it
where,
in-house.
I had the same challenges of like trying to get stuff done, prioritizing with dev. Like, I just want to move fast. I want to like, do the things that make us innovative. And your words just say that. Like, if you want to be an innovator, you want to be a fast mover. This is one of the ways you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing how quick and how fast you can get this up and running once it's the contract signed. The ink's still wet, and you're already starting to move forward on it. Um, Again, too, like you know, it's not just simply the tool; it's the thought knowledge. And Martha, I've had the privilege of having a lot of interaction with you. It's not just you; you have some fantastic team members on your team. In both places that I've been at, people are just absolutely amazed of all the nuggets and the insights that you provide. I mean, I feel like Google talks to you sometimes to ask about structured data. It feels like, but it's really fantastic to have that. We still use, at Advent Health, we still use another agency for SEO. And we have some resources that we have here at Holiday and Club Vacation, but it's not competitive. It's actually complementary. So it provides also, what I really love too is sometimes there can be multiple ways to approach an item or a strategy to go after. And it's actually sort of nice to have two different thoughts where maybe you might have a traditional SEO agency that could have a series of things that they're focused on. And then you could have Schema App that can provide a slightly different insight based off where in the niche area of the market you're in. And it actually, you would think sometimes there might be that conflict, but what I've actually seen in both places is it's actually been supported each other. And I've actually seen the two groups work together and actually produce even better results.
Where do you recommend they start their journey sort of exploring structured data?
I mean, I, I think personally, just having that open conversation, like, and understanding if I know you've done webinars, you've done things, but just I think it's having that sit down and it's trying to tell you these are the goals and these are the objectives that we're trying to have, and then seeing where that might fall. In both circumstances, when at Advent Health, I had a specific like reason why I was doing that. And that reason was because of that rebrand and that completely re-architecture and naming structure. And I was very, very concerned about how that would fly with Google and other search engines. At Holiday and Club Vacation, because of the past experience I had and where I know we needed to go to expand and grow our organic presence, I already knew that relationship there. So I think it comes down to, what is your need and how can potentially structured data help you get there? And again, you know, think of it broader than just SEO. Think of it of if I'm trying to figure out how to organize and manage my content, if I'm thinking about how I might want to be personalizing or I want to be potentially implementing chatbots or whatever it might be, or AI pieces, like there is that need for that overarching knowledge graph, that that data architecture.
Thanks so much. Where can we find you, Simon, if someone wants to reach out? We'll make sure people get that.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Simon Yohe. I'm on. That's perfectly fine. Or you can email me. I'm happy to answer questions. Do you want me to put my email in the link, or will you'll send it? I am open and probably too transparent. So if you're up for it, I'm more than happy.